Hello students. Today we're going to be talking about Interchange Book 1 on page 94 in the conversation about telephone messages. There's a very special way to talk when you're on the phone for a job, and this example conversation has some good advice for how you should talk. At the end of the conversation, I'm going to give a few more pieces of advice for you when you're talking on the phone for a job. When you're working at the job and talking to a customer or talking to your boss or things like that. So stick around after the main point of the video for some extra tips. So let's start. Good morning, Parker Industries. Hello, may I speak to Miss Graham, please? I'm sorry, she's not in. Can I take a message? Yes, please. This is Mr. Kale. Is that G-A-L-E? No, it's K-A-L-E. All right. Please tell her our meeting is on Friday at 2:30. Friday at 2:30. And would you ask her to call me this afternoon? My number is 356-4031. 356-4031. Yes, Mr. Kale, I'll give Miss Graham the message. Thank you, goodbye, goodbye. So you'll notice when the conversation was happening, the secretary would repeat what they heard to Mr. Kale. And that's something that you want to do when you're having a conversation with someone, especially if you're having a conversation with English language used, and you're not fully fluent in English speaking. So you'll want to repeat to make sure that you have it right. Oftentimes a phone call, it's during the middle of work, people are very busy, maybe a little bit stressed, and phone lines sometimes aren't that great. So people may be difficult to understand. And so you'll want to repeat what they say to make sure you have it right, especially when it comes to their names, the spelling of their names, and the phone numbers to call them back. If a very important call comes for your boss and you're taking the number down and you're telling the person calling for your boss that you will make sure that the boss calls them back, and you take the wrong number and your boss can't call them back, your boss might be very angry at you. And so you see at one point the secretary says to Mr. Kale, so Mr. Kale says, my number is 356-4031. And the secretary reads it back, 356-4031. Usually you would stop there, make sure that the person confirms. So Mr. Kale would say, oh, my number is 356-4031. You say 356-4031. Yeah, yes, is that correct? And they would say yes or no and correct you. Again, with the spelling of the name, the secretary originally had it wrong. Instead of Kale, they had Gale. And so they checked, that's G-A-L-E. And Mr. Kale said, no, it's K-A-L-E, and made sure to correct that. Also, it's usually good when you're answering the phone to say, hello, this is Parker Industries, Dan speaking, whatever your name is. Hello, Parker Industries, Noy speaking, how may I help you? What may I do for you today? How can I direct your call? How can I direct your call would be if you're in a sort of a secretary position and there are multiple people who work for the office. So you say, how may I direct it? Where can I send your call? Over here to Mr. Parker, over here to Miss Jones, over here to Miss Smith. So a little bit of advice for answering the phones. And then of course, always, when you're hanging up, it's never just bye. You want to say, have a nice day. It was a pleasure talking to you, things like that. You always want to be very, very kind, very nice. Make sure they feel that it was a happy conversation. So there's a little bit of advice for you. Thanks.